You're talking about 2014 and when that first product was listed, but the decisions made by the CFTC at that time, they're very much driven by practical considerations. So we just had to decide whether a contract that was being put up for listing was under the jurisdiction of the CFTC or not. And so in that sense, it was a pretty strictly legal analysis. You look at the Commodity Exchange Act, you look at the definition of a commodity, and you make a conclusion based on your analysis, whether it fits that definition or not. And Eric, I suspect you're pretty familiar with that definition. I haven't read it word for word in a little while, but I used to always joke when I was at the CFTC, basically everything is a commodity. I mean, start with that assumption that everything on the planet under the Commodity Exchange Act is a commodity. And then you think about it a little bit more and you start weeding some things out. But the point is that it's extraordinarily broad in terms of how it's written in the statute. So it's easy to capture a whole host of things and, not that far a leap in the end. It almost looks obvious, right? At this point, when you look back, almost looks obvious that Bitcoin is a commodity. But you also made a very important point. Just because something is a commodity doesn't mean that it's not something else as well in terms of legal definitions. And there are plenty of examples of that. But that's what really drove it at that time, which is different, by the way, than a set of bigger picture policy considerations about where you want the asset class to go, how you want it to evolve. I wish I could tell you that was what was driving that decision. It really wasn't. It was strictly, we have a problem in front of us right now. It's a product. We have to make a decision here. And what's the right conclusion? And meanwhile, there remain a whole host of questions around, if you're just focusing on supervision, what is the best agency to oversee this? Which obviously relates to what is the best way to look at the asset itself. Obviously, there are a lot of questions around the spot markets in the United States. How should those be supervised at a federal level? Or, as you know, Eric, they're not. A lot of people think that creates a little bit of a gaping hole in the regulatory structure in the United States for an increasingly growing asset class.